Hello everyone, welcome back for some more Let's Read Witch on the Holy Night. So we know our target, we learned a bit about Touko versus Aoko, and now we're going to, well, I guess see how things go. As night appeared, two things vanished. The first was the whimsical snowfall. The second was the lights of the mansion on the top of the hill. This music gives me chills. It's not the same as the music in like Stay Night and Tsukihime, but it's really good all the same. It's a different feeling. Almost feels more the music in this game, just before we get reading, there's so much of it that it doesn't really feel like themes. Like it's not theme of happy, theme of sad, theme of shenanigans. I mean, there's that, but there's so many other songs that it doesn't feel as, set in its ways, if that makes sense. It feels like it can experiment with stuff. Anyways, Aoko and Alice were nowhere to be seen inside. Only Sojiro remained. It was the night of Christmas Eve. Though Aoko and Alice had yet to find Touko, they knew everything would be concluded over the course of this day and the next. Christmas comes but once a year. It was a singular time for endings and new beginnings. In Japan, the modern holiday dated back only about 100 years. Huh. That's longer than I would have expected. But then again, I completely forgot about, everything regarding, the Christian battles of, Amakusa, Shiro, Tokasada, and celebrated Christ's birth only in name. With all its latter-day trappings, it was neither a pure homage nor corruption of the festival that inspired it. Regardless, there was a significant increase in the land's mana during festivals. Oh, that's interesting. I like that. Such charged distortions were a boon to a mage's craft, be it creative or destructive. Touko Ozaki sought to destroy the local sigils, which gathered and properly cycled the magical energy of the land and its people. Sojiro was able to gather that much from Aoko and Alice's conversation. Touko had already claimed 3 sigils. Only 2 remained. Any further loss would signal Aoko and Alice's defeat. In order to protect the remaining ones, they had to split up. Aoko lacked power, so she would need to borrow a ploy from Alice and head to the Tokawa sigil, which boasted the greatest local energy supply. Alice would go fully equipped to the sigil in Yashirogi. Free from the constraints of civilized society, magecraft is most powerful at midnight, ironically not the witching hour. The young witch and the apprentice mage wished each other luck before leaving the mansion. It was almost 10 at night. After the girls set out, the first 2 hours passed quickly. When Aoko was ready to head off, Sojiro walked with her to the foyer. Neither had spoken a word to each other. She had departed without showing any sign of fear. It was difficult to tell whether she did not want to get him involved, or whether she did not see him a worthy ally in combat. The thought stuck with him. He let out a long sigh, not out of dejection or frustration. It was a mechanical, emotionless breath. He sat on the near-frozen floor, staring vacantly up at the skylight. Moonlight peeked through the clouds. He imagined the moonlight bouncing off the town's powdery blanket and illuminating the night. But he would not find himself downtown. Watching from the sidelines was his role to begin with. His roommates and he lived worlds apart. He could not keep up with them, and if he did not show the same kind of will, he would remain on the sidelines. However...
そうか。この手が必要な時は。
Aw, buddy. Sojiro looked up at the moon. Aw. My man. Somewhere deep inside, he felt a trickle of sadness. Yo. Real sad boy hours. Who up? Me. I'm up. Recording a video right now. Dang. The cold night sky. Whoa. That That is very... I'm getting big Tsukihime vibes from that. Veiled in white and cloaked in darkness, the park seemed like a forgotten memory. Not a soul was in sight. The night felt far more enigmatic than usual, yet the air was clean enough to drink. But only a sliver of moonlight peered through the clouds. It lit up the entire world. In those moments, a young girl's footsteps echoed, trampling the still white silence under a midnight sun. The pale moon illuminated the inky blue sky. Only a few streetlights and an incongruous phone booth betrayed signs of civilization. A girl appeared, dressed in black. Yo, the way the shadow moved there is wild. Across the snowy landscape, the figure of Alice Kuonji was unmistakable. Pure black, deeper than even the night, were her overcoat, gloves, and hat, even her hair and eyes. Nothing stirred for a time, not Alice, nor the white scenery. The world was a still painting of a snowy field. Only time moved, gradually darkening the lights in the park, and eventually the nearby homes as well. Yashirogi was a more modern and developed town than Misaki. Though the park was located in the center of town, it had become a blind spot. It had been overlooked by developers and carried no commercial value. A few houses encircled the park. The streetlights turned off at midnight. It was a white night. People, even machines, were fast asleep.
私が先なのね。
Alice whispered, watching the streetlights slowly fade. She thought she heard a hog. Not a hog. No, we are not dealing with 30 to 40 wild hogs. We are dealing with a dog howling in the distance. Perhaps it was howling at the moon. The howl reached deeper into the night than expected. A wolf, maybe? Those aren't super common in Japan. The phone rang. It was perhaps the first time it had rung, since Sojiro moved into the mansion. Hesitantly, he picked up the receiver and brought it to his ear. He heard nothing. He felt he had to say something, but could not think of what. Maybe something like, "Hello, Kuwanji residents." Or maybe, "You've reached the Aozaki residence." While he was deep in thought, a voice as light as air came through the receiver.
Shizuki.
Is that Alice? The phone booth! Sojiro could barely hear the voice, but it was definitely Alice's.
そうだけど、アリス、
She sounds hurt. No response. The silence was as profound as the night, but for the sound of static from the receiver. After a long pause, Alice finally spoke.
青子はいる。
いや、まだ帰ってないけど。
そう。
With a click, the call ended. That's terrifying. I don't like this. I don't like that. The feeling of helplessness is, like, huge. Sojiro wondered if she had something to say but could not respond in time. That doesn't sound good at all. Oh, back in time a bit? That's a lot of puppers! Slowly they advanced, carving through the fresh snow. There were so many. Where had they all come from? Dozens of feral, never mind, those aren't good boys. Those are bad borkers. Dozens of feral dogs snarled at Alice, their eyes trained on her. The snow clung to the beast's mangy fur. Their clenched fangs and bloodshot eyes hid a barely reined hunger that burst forth like lightning at any moment, that might burst forth, rather. They yearned to taste her warm flesh and satiate their empty bellies. To them, the girl in black stood like a lighthouse in a stormy sea. She watched them, disinterested. It appeared that the Yashirogi sigil was the key target tonight, not the Touko where Aoko had gone. Alice had always been unflappable, and the child's play before her was hardly about to change that. Her main enemy was not the dogs surrounding her, but the lone mage behind them, Touko Aozaki.
ひどい趣味。ここ数年で品が落ちたの。
The most forbidden of magic. Pepperoni.
まあ、 それならそれで嬉しいけど、これが地金なら青崎との付き合いもいよいよ白紙に戻せるわ。
Looks like Toko's magecraft has gone to the dogs, am I right? Touko laughed. Oh, she's actually here, not like a symbolic thing. She's actually here. Okay. I thought it was like a, she's not the real target. The real target is this, and it's sort of like a, an esoteric, like in meaning. But no, she's actually here. Anyways, acerbic? What is acerbic? Let's play the learn a new word game. Acerbic. What does that mean?
Acerbic.
Acerbic. Sharp and forthright, or tasting sour or bitter. Interesting.
いやいや、これは不可抗力でね。安心しろアリス。間違っても私の趣味じゃない。
Crunching through the fallen snow, Touko slowly came into view. She wore a moss green coat that contrasted sharply with Alice's garb. A silk scarf warmed her neck. She stood tall, her hair short, striking a more valiant posture than any young man. After all, the two standing here needed to be less like the shining moon and more like the darkness surrounding it. The barking abated. Like servants in a royal court, they averted their eyes from their ruler, lest their eyes and hearts be plucked out.
久しぶりだね、アリス。
トウコさんもお元気そうで。
They stood about 12 feet apart, because they're not gay. No love had been lost between them. Just two enemies, one who was to be victorious, and one who was to fall.
さて、どうしようかアリス。積もる話もある。君の近況にも興味がある。そもそも今回の件についていろいろと説明したくてたまらない。5分ほど時間を割いても構わないか？
That's kind of funny that it's like, hey, do you want to just chat before we rip each other to shreds?
お断りよ。あなたと5分も話をしていたら、その隙に内臓まで売却されそう。
No quarters, no dimes, not even a penny. The following events unfolded quickly. Boldly and without a second's thought, that is the best shot we've had of her little charm. They should sell that. Alice pulled out a cat spell from the seam of her mantle and dropped it. Diddle diddle, the beginning of Alice Kuonji's magecraft, the start to a night of fairy tales. Aoko favored a quick draw approach like something from Western. However, Alice preferred sleight of hand. She used her target's blind spots against them, ending the game before they knew it had begun. The bell fell, like a coin into a fountain. Oh, that's not good. Then, as it was about to strike the ground, it shattered, disappearing without a trace. Was that rune magic? Did she lay a rune on the ground? Oh, my god. She used, like, the MVC3 Trish trap.
ああ、1日かけて公園中に刻ませてもらった。
I like how I'm so Nasu-pilled I'm immediately like, dang, she carved runes into the ground.
この公園の道はレンガだからね。手間こそかかったが簡単な仕事だった。周りの森まで見て、ざっと400平米のキャンバスだ。面白いだろ？今私たちは30万字以上のルーンの上にいる。
Oh. Wow. That's like Lord of the Rings. Swallowing hard, Alice took a step back. Touko had carved runes all over the ground. Even in the area Diddle reacted to alone, there was a depressing amount of them. Had she truly carved them into the whole park? Alice did not react with surprise. She simply narrowed her eyes. She could see how it would have taken the whole day. It was no wonder Diddle Diddle, Banquet of the Night, was destroyed by the skin of sun. Still, something bothered Alice.
一体どうやって隠していたの？
Oh my god, is it the snow? Did she do it before the snow? There were just so many. What kind of magecraft could do that?
ああ、ちょっと特別性。このルーンね、普段は確定していないんだ。
Whoa.
こうしている今も変形している。パッと見はただの傷跡。それが強い魔力に触れると元の形に立ち戻る。
Literal
形状記憶ノート
memory
でも言おう
foam.
かな。
Whoa.
そんなわけで、いかなる夜の深さをもってしても、
Yep.
この太陽は没しない。
Wow.
こ
She spoke modestly, but Alice could not imagine the amount of persistence, technique, and skill it must have taken. And it only took a day. Even 10 mages would have trouble producing so many sophisticated runes in that time. Moreover, these runes were made using unknown techniques the association had not approved.
負け惜しみだけど、私みたいな小娘一人に大人げないわね、東子さん。
バカを言うな。君を小娘だなんて一度も思ったことはないよ。まあ、私好みの体だと眠めつけることはあったがね。
What do you mean? What? What the frick? Sans? It happened in the blink of an eye. Alice cut off Touko's snide remark with a deadly stare. Does she have mystic eyes or a mystic eye? What? The left eye of the darkly clad girl changed in color to an ominous ruby. The speed of the incantation was phenomenal. Alice's... she does. Alice's mystic eyes of enthralling snared Touko. Oh. She had been the one to quite literally be taken captive by the girl's stare. Right. The fence. So the fence thing that was done earlier, that's her eyes. Touko tried to raise her arm but could not even move a finger. Alice's mystic eyes commanded absolute control with no room for resistance. Only a person's internal organs were allowed the freedom to move. Well, that's good at least. Since their organs still function, it was more precise to say that her eyes forbid the target from acting. Alice had played her hand with exquisite timing. Dang, cool. I was like, man, I sure would like, Alice playable in a Melty Blood. And then I was like, she needs just a little bit more sauce, right? Just something. All the summons are cool, but she needs a little something. There we go. Boom. We got this as a thing. Alice had played her hand with exquisite timing. It wasn't the speed of her eyes that had given her an edge. The deftness with which she wove her spells to exploit the briefest vulnerabilities what made Alice a different caliber to other mages like Aoko. This witch, who lived hidden in the modern era, was more seasoned in magical battles than Touko Ozaki.
だが残念。ディドルディドルが響かないのでは、魔眼のアクロスティック化はできないようだ。
Acrostic? Like an acrostic poem? Alright, she said that in English. But what does acrostic mean? A poem, word puzzle, or other composition in which certain letters in each line form words or words. Yeah, okay, so no, that is what it is. It's a poem thing.
欲しいね。あの月目のプロイキッシャーなら、これで私の方はお手上げだったろうが。
Yes, sorry, we kind of had a sick battle with that. The formation holding Touko began to distort. In the blink of an eye, the mage... Oh, dang, she just booby flexed out of there. Had bested Alice's mystic eyes. Alice's black outfit fluttered in the wind. She turned so she was not facing Touko head-on. The mage had recovered through her own mystic eyes. At the root of Touko's mystic eyes was a spell of Mesmerize. Most effective when facing the prey, such eyes could mind-jack a target's awareness. It was difficult to resist head-on, applied directly to the forehead. However, its effect was greatly diminished if the target was not facing the eyes directly, even if it was within range. Moreover, the girl was the last witch of her lineage who commanded a great number of fairy tales. Against mystic eyes that projected their effects, simply turning one's body was enough to repel half of their magical energy. Like Alice's eyes, Touko could also disable actions. Alice had escaped by the skin of her teeth. The damage she'd suffered was the weight of a twig to a forest. She had just had to let the energy pass through... Uh-oh. Yo, did she cast, like, Doom on her? Did she have a counter on her head? In an instant, a startling chill ran through Alice's body. Oh, I was joking, but this might be real. This was a problem. The touch of death ran up her spine. She glared at the mage before her as blue rubber balls flowed from beneath her overcoat. Sorry, what? Blue rubber balls? That's not what I would have expected. The stare-off grew more intense. Alice glared harder. Sorry, I just can't get over blue rubber balls. What do you mean by that? What do you mean? Alice glared harder, resisting Touko's mystic eyes with her own. Losing was not an option. In terms of raw magical energy, Alice Konji's mystic eyes were more powerful and advanced than Touko's. Surely nobody could beat her. And yet, her unfiltered stock of magical energy, stifled by old-fashioned values, was no match for Touko's madness. Oh, that's her eye! What? Deeper within her eyes, somehow, the eyes revealed a sealed power. There's something deeper within her eyes? Whoa. What? Inside the crystalline lens of the mage's left iris was a bottomless pit. A Klein cube. I'm gonna assume that's like a Klein jar, right? Because the Klein jar is... If I'm correct. Yeah. So a Klein jar... Just give me a second here. I'm gonna show you. A Klein jar is a... Can you, like, load, please? Okay. So if you look here, a Klein jar, can you actually just load fully? Is a shape with no volume. So in this case, it is technically like a forever bottle, but also a never bottle. But what's a Klein cube? Answer, nothing except a doujinshi of Mash Kyrie light. So that means that is a Fate or Natsuverse original. Okay, good to know. But okay. Alice winced in pain. The bindings grew in number. So that means that her eye like goes on forever. So many mystic eyes. Thousands perhaps, all fixed on Alice. Well, because it's an infinity, right? So it just like does a feedback loop essentially of, oh my god. I thought her eyes looked crazy. Pressure. So much pressure. Endless, and Alice knew it. She saw, incredulously, she saw eyes growing within eyes. Terrifying. Touko had placed opposing mirrors inside her eyes, resulting in an infinite glare. What the frick? That's rad! It was the act of a madwoman, creating mystic eyes within mystic eyes. Holy shit. She could even control the resulting chaos caused by all the copies. Her insanity knew no bounds. No mage in their right mind would mass-produce so many mystics, the last escape of humankind, so indiscriminately.
やれやれ。これもお気に召さないか。私なりにマインスターの真似事をしてみたつもりなんだが。
God, we still don't know much about the Mindsters.
うまくできているだろう。君の悪路のように希少な神秘で現実をねじ曲げるのではなく、量産した神秘で現実をねじ伏せる。
Dang.
物自体はただの魔眼。だがその段数には果てがない。
Yeah, it's a Klein.
相手がどれほどの魔力抵抗を持っていようと、それ以上の魔力で拘束するだけのものだ。
Wow. Wow, that's broken as frick. She wielded power without limit to disable an opponent. Once one was caught in them, one was chained to the concept of infinity. Projection-type eyes had a fatal flaw. Their firepower and formula were insignificant compared to the great artillery of incanted spells, but Touko had torn down that conventional wisdom with brute strength. If the gun was a pea shooter, she would simply needed to bring more guns. A 9mm bullet could never destroy a fortress, unless one threw a fortress's massive bullets at it. Could you imagine? Just the idea of like, okay, we need to destroy this castle, and all I have is a pistol. Yeah, like, you know, you might say, no matter what you do, a pistol can't destroy a castle. What if you had an infinite number of shots that you could fire all at once? Bruh, holy crap. The principle was brutishly simple, but in the world of magecraft, where concepts decided supremacy, Touko had created the perfect weapon. The target would be bound until she closed her eyes. In theory, at least, the effects were infinite. No amount of magical energy could ever overcome it, so it was utterly futile to resist using magical energy. Of course, one way to counter it would be to stay out of Touko's line of sight to begin with. The standard tactic against mystic eyes was to defeat the user before they were aware of you. There was, however, another way. I swear to God, if we just get pocket sand! It was simpler than one might think.
ともあれ、これで罪だ。何か言い残すことは?
God, it's been so long since we've got, like, this perspective on a character. This is like in Fate, like, whenever stuff was popping off, you'd get this perspective. Alice could no longer see her enemy. Touko's infinite eyes had bound her. All she could make out was a sliver of moonlight, and a blue streak speeds by, too fast for the naked eye, tracing its way towards her.
結構悔いのない人生で羨ましい。
Whoa. She drew a rune in the air, unleashing a shockwave to tear flesh asunder. The gusts became blades of air that shredded Alice's overcoat and minced... What? Bird? No, don't tell me Robin! Did Robin blow up? Blue feathers flitted all around. Touko felt something behind her and turned. Five cat-shaped bells were through. Okay, I thought that was a much more rare item that there wouldn't be 5. And just as quickly as they shattered to pieces, standing before her was a completely unharmed Alice Kuonji.
そよ風みたいなルーンね。トウコさん、本当に鈍った?
Okay, I seriously thought that Robin flew in and just frickin' exploded, like, you know, when that one guy was doing baseball and he like pitched, was it a pitch? No, it was right after someone pitched and then he hit it with the bat and then the ball hit and just exploded a bird, which was the funniest thing to me as a kid, one of the funniest videos ever, which in hindsight is incredibly cruel that I laughed so hard at. I thought that Robin just exploded and that'd be the end, but then I remembered no matter what you do, Robin just bounces back like a rubber ball.
術者の身代わりになるプロイの話は聞いてなかったな。
She did the Nico Robin.
ええ。1年のうち365日は役立たずで。どうしてあんなのが古参なのか、私も疑問だけど。
Oh, wait. That was...
殺されることだけは得意なのよ。
That was Robin? What? How? What? There he is. He's fine. As if responding to Alice's words, a bird began chanting frantically. An anonymous sacrifice. Who killed Cock Robin? Echoed into the night, sung out of tune.
ああ、そんな歌もあったな。
Hold up. That's a rhyme? Sorry, that's a rhyme? Okay, I'm gonna go into... Funny I said Nico Robin, but who killed Cock Robin? What is that? I'm going into incognito for this, because I don't trust... Because every time it's like, oh, you know that old rhyme. No. Incognito's like, we don't know if we trust you searching this. Fine, I'll go out of incognito. Who killed Cock Robin? What is this? Who Killed Cock Robin is a English nursery rhyme. Folk song index number 494. It comes from Tommy Thumb's Pretty Songbook from 1744, which only gave the first 4 verses. Who killed Cock Robin? I, said the sparrow, with my bow and arrow. I killed Cock Robin. Who saw him die? I, said the fly, with my little teeny eye. I saw him die. Who caught his blood? I, said the duck. It was just my luck I caught his blood. Who'll make the shroud? I, said the beetle, with my thread and needle. I'll make the shroud. Who will dig the grave? I, said the owl. With my pick and trowel, I'll dig the grave. Oh, it just keeps going forever. Apparently, in the end, the sparrow who killed Cock Robin is hung for his crime. Okay. Well, Very interesting.
だがあれは一度に1回しか殺されない。
I mean, even birds die when they're killed.
2度目はないし、あったとしても。
The bird squawked a very unbird-like death throw. From behind Alice, the blue robin fell from its tree, a victim of Touko's mystic eyes.
本当に使えない。
Will he come back, or is this actually the actual death of him now?
さて。
If that's just the end, if it just dies by being looked at and it's done, I'm gonna actually be really sad.
あとも使えている。これで終わりにしよう、アリス。
そうでもないわ。確かに今の私にあなたの魔眼は破れない。けれど Beauty of his mutant clay.
Ah, yeah.
Mutant clay. Beauty of his mutant clay. My fair lady.
It's time. I forgot all about. The song came from the depths of the earth, stirring a mighty quake to mark the birth of something gargantuan. I hope we see more of it. I want to see it more clearly. Touko needed to throw Alice into an infinite hell before whatever that was could be completed. But she was far too late.
Mutant clay will wash away. Falling down, falling down. Beauty of his bricks and mortar. My fair lady.
You tried very hard with bricks and mortar. You tried very hard. Also, yeah, it only did the one. The ground bursts to life. Oh, is it made? Because it's made of the ground, it's gonna be made with the runes. A finger, then another, and another, all rising up like towers. Earth, snow, and brick, which is my favorite Earth, Wind, and Fire cover band, knitted together, manifesting into a giant stone golem.
そんなバカな話があるか。なぜこいつが出てきやがる。
Touko was so angry and confused she could barely gather her thoughts. The bridge giant, the monster from the monster's fairy tales, rose from the ground, ruining Touko's plan. The giant was extremely powerful, but could only be summoned under one condition. It must be in proximity to a natural river. Are we gonna get like... Yeah, by the way, snow counts as a river when it's melting. Or is it gonna be there was a river underground that this was, that was built over? Or are we gonna get the flow of the mana is like a river? That was the monster's one and only condition. But this park was nowhere near one. And on top of that, it was rising up directly between Touko and Alice mid-battle.
あら、
Ara.
あるでしょう。すぐそこに。川と呼ぶには小さな、すぐに消えてしまうものだけど。
Huh? Touko lowered her gaze. She was standing in a puddle of water. Wow! That is a remarkable stretch for what counts. The scarred red mage was dumbfounded. That was why Alice used Diddle Diddle before. While the bells could be replenished, they were valuable to Alice, and she had spent 5 throwing them up in an intentional line for the sun runes to destroy. Oh, the sun runes create. Oh my god. I was wondering what they were gonna do. From there. From there. From there. It's too much. We must continue. Yo. Yo, let me see him. Yeah! Yo, he's cool. It's like friggin' Final Fantasy Alexander, but like a messed up version. The arms of the Thames troll rose up from the stone paving. The monsters. This music is also going hard. It's going so good. The monster's torso alone surpassed 80 feet. Its form was made entirely of stone. Previously, she had created one using trees of a forest. However, Touko knew instantly the monster before was at least twice as powerful.
止まれ。
She unleashed her stacked mystic eyes. They were meaningless at this stage. They had no effect on the giant. As said, mystic eyes can be countered in 2 ways. The first is to hide oneself from the view of the mage. That was the standard response. The other, however, was devilishly simple yet 100% effective. In fact, it's less than a way and more of a fact. Mystic eyes curse a target by focusing on them. However, What if the target was too large to focus on entirely? That's really interesting. I never considered that. So, I guess that's one way, but I know they're like special, but I wonder if that works for the Mystic Eyes of Death perception. Does that mean it has to be something you can fully see? I don't know about that though. Or at least focus on? I don't know. Maybe for low ranking it's not enough. But I guess you can see the lines. That's what you're focusing on. The answer was, one could barely stop a single arm. The giant, unfazed, raised its right arm and swung it down onto the ground, destroying thousands of runes. It's a good thing no one will see this or hear this. Definitely. I mean, it's Christmas. Everyone's too busy eating their KFC. They think that this is just, you know, the delivery trucks. The demolished stones were then absorbed into its right arm, adding to its mass. As the mage had said before, no matter how deep the night, these little suns won't set. While the suns might not set, they could be crushed under the bulk of a giant's hand. Hey, so this is awesome. This is really good. Oh right, the dogs! The victor of the battle was decided. Touko Aozaki closed her eyes and prepared to escape. The stray dogs began to whine, fearful of the hulking figure before them.
参ったな。私ではマインスターには勝てなかったか。まあ、そのあたりは今後の課題としよう。
呆れた。逃げられると思っているの？トウコさん。
まさか。そこまで鈍ってはいないよ、アリス第一。逃げるとしたら、それは私の方じゃないからね。
Uh-oh. What? There was no hint of bravado in Touko's tone. Even in the face of a titan she had no means of harming, her confidence was unshakable. The reason being...
ま、前座は終わりだ。来い、ベオ。
I swear to God, if Beowulf appears, this was no longer a battle of skill. A fight for survival had begun. What do you mean, Beo? Snap went Touko's fingers. In response, a beautiful high-pitched melody floated up toward the moon. I'm sorry, did we hear the same sound? I wouldn't call that a beautiful high-pitched melody at all. It echoed all around them. The spiral howl dredged up ancient primal memories. Its source emerged from the shadows and landed next to the mage. A dog? That's a Borker. Alice's lip trembled faintly, not from fear, but with admiration when she recognized the creature before her. It was a majestic golden beast, beyond the domain of both magical and phantasmal, simply divine. Sorry, is this going to be the Beowulf? That's a... what? It was a life that should have passed from the world with the age of gods. A mystic derived from human wisdom, preserved by thousands of years of hidden tradition, thousands of generations of hidden tradition. A recreation of a miracle that once freely walked the earth. The natural enemy of magecraft. The what? Able to crush it with ease. What are you talking about? That's a dog. Quiet resignation settled over Alice's face. The golden beast charged. This time she didn't even have a chance to admit defeat. What's the dog? Sorry. What do you mean the natural enemy? Is it like a true ancestor or something? What? She could hear the beast's breathing in her ear. Oh no. It seemed she had been unconscious for a short time. Oh no. Alice opened her eyes and took a deep breath. Each cough sent pain shooting through her body. Blood rose from the pit of her stomach and she spat it onto the cold ground. Can I just say? Well, this is like, I'm legitimately like, oh no, I can't believe this. A little part of me is a little like, I know she's fine. And the reason is simple. Aoko absolutely name drops her in Type Lumina. I think she's like, hey, I wonder how Alice is doing. So it's like, okay, we at least know, right? When her vision returned, she was able to make out the distant sky, falling snow, and the golden wolf. Then again, it's entirely possible that there's something that explains that that's like an alternate timeline or something. You know, I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't know enough about Type Lumina and that timeline, which is this timeline? I don't know. I don't know anything about that to really go into it, so I won't. I only know from the bits I've seen. I've not even played it fully myself. The wolf panted. It stared at Alice, saliva dripping from its mouth onto her cheek. Don't like where this is going. Razor-sharp fangs lined its jaws. Its fur was glossier than any animal she had ever seen. Brutal, knife-like claws protruded from its massive blood-stained paws. And yet, it did not smell like a beast. Surely, the presence of such a noble creature, human would feel like a lesser animal. The battle between Alice and the wolf was over before it had begun. Oh, frick. Oh, she's messed up. After destroying the troll, oh no, wow. It baptized Alice with its wicked claws, giving her no chance to escape. Its sideswipe had torn into her abdomen like a sword, carving through her clothes and flesh all the way to her heart. Even so, not once did Alice make a sound. The wolf had her pinned and stared at her face. Her limbs felt ready to break at any moment. That was the situation she found herself in. Now fully conscious, Alice stared at her enemy through pained eyes. She felt no fear, only cold reality sinking in. Sensing Alice's demeanor, the wolf suddenly paused, its paw still raised. They looked into each other's eyes.
そんなに血が出てるのに痛くないんだ。
Yeah, that's not the...
そんなに血が出てるのに痛くないんだ。
Sound like young Gil. The wolf's voice came as a surprise, but there was no doubt it had spoken.
それとも痛いのは平気なのかな。
The wolf's voice sounded innocent, almost childlike. In complete contrast to what had happened up to that point, the wolf smiled.
どっちにしろ我慢強いんだね、お姉ちゃんは。
Yeah, calling her Onecha? What is going on? Are you a special familiar just like Robin? The wolf opened its mouth wide and clamped its jaws around Alice's neck.
Beo!
Touko's tone was sharper than the wolf's fangs. The wolf froze.
トウコさん。
He let go and slowly turned his head toward the voice.
とどめは刺すなと言ったろ。余計な仕事を増やす気か、バカもん。
それはそれで楽しいのに。ああ、退屈。話に聞いた橋の巨人も結局は他の生き物と一緒だったし。
There's truly very little things more terrifying than a force of nature, a, like, truly powerful entity with the voice of a child and the demeanor of a child. Because unlike adults who are more likely to show remorse, a child shows an innocence that almost makes them feel like nothing they do is wrong, you know? The wolf backed away from Alice, as if no longer interested in his prey. To the golden beast, she was little more than an old chew toy, and the squeaker had just broken.
なんだ、もう意識が戻ったのか。心もタフなら体も大概だな。骨まで砕いてその程度の出血とは。マインスターの教育の賜物かい？
I still want to know more about the Minesters. Barely clinging to life, Alice stared at Touko, but not a stare of hatred and defeat, one of disbelief. Alice simply wondered why Touko had brought such a beast.
ああ、紹介が遅れたな。彼はおそらく地上で現存している最後の人狼だ。
Oh! Oh, you mean like the type that we slaughter en masse, in which I can never say right, but we slaughter tons of in Fate Grand Order? Okay.
北欧の奥地に生きる彼らの一族の中に現れた生粋の原種だよ。
Huh. Okay.
見ての通り、先祖返りなんて言葉じゃ表せない黄金の神秘でね。
Of course you did.
名前がなかったんで、わかりやすくベオウルフと呼んでいる。
That's kind of gonna be confusing when we have the actual Beowulf. God, could you imagine though this, like, if they bring him into Grand Order and it's like, yeah, that's Beowulf Lily.
ベオウルフ。
Alice's face was perplexed, even though she hadn't wavered when she was disemboweled. Beowulf, the name of the heroic giant slayer from Danish legend, who was also Tyler Durden from Fight Club, didn't you know? It came from Old English, a combination of honeybee and wild beast, a bear in other words. I didn't know that actually. Interesting.
そんな
Yeah,
ちぐはぐな名前を。
right? It's not great.
いや、可愛いからに決まってるだろ。
Oh, you have bad taste. Perhaps because of the name or because of the golden beast itself. Fighting the pain, Alice struggled to read Touko. In this respect, she was worse than Aoko.
ついでに説明しておくと、周りの犬どもはベオが勝手に呼び寄せたものだ。私自身、マインスターの娘がただの畜生に傷つけられるとは思ってはいないよ。
Oh! Cool, okay. I was like, I wonder if one of these characters is gonna be the human form. I was like, could it be like Kojika? Could it be Kazuki Yamashiro? No, okay, there he is. Okay. You can't fault me, the game did that.
今のところは。
I was like, I wonder, who could it be? And it was right there. Toko's mouth twisted into a grin. Not the warm one Sojiro saw, but the merciless smile a victor displays to a loser. The disdain in Alice's eyes turned to anger. The golden mystic. How could Touko have brought such a creature to the human world?
何？需要と供給だよ。過疎化は人間だけの問題じゃない。彼らもいい加減、
Wow.
昔ながらの生活には限界が来たらしくてね。
Alright, Ayn
話し
Rand.
合いの末、高額で私が買い取った。
Jeez.
と言っても、あくまで里から出すだけの権利だがね。お察しの通り、私の髪はベオとの契約に使い切った。自分の髪を使って分身を作るより、強大な怪物を縛り付けた方がよっぽど健全。
While she was talking, Touko noticed something strange. An unusual sound, yeah. The squelching of blood. A preternatural sound that tore at the mind. A sound that should not have existed. And it was coming from the girl's open abdomen.
もう復元が始まったか。
What?
いや、というより。
何この匂い。トウコさん、なんかワクワクすること起きてない？
Oh, even the way you say Waku Waku sounds exactly like young Gil. Curious, Beowulf moved in closer, like a puppy examining a new toy.
見るな、あっちに行っていろ、ベオ。正気を失っても知らんぞ。
Touko shooed the mud away with her hand. Beowulf lowered his head meekly and withdrew.
教育方針を間違ったかな。まったく、乙女の腹を見ようなんて恥を知れ。
Sorry, we're not gonna get into that she was pregnant, right? That's not what we're... No.
トウコさんだって見てるじゃない。
バカ。私は乙女だからいいんだ。
What? If Aoko had been here, she would have blasted them away for their impudence, just as she did against Flat Snark.
まあ、しかしむごいな。こんなになるまで放っておくとは。マインスターは人の親とは言えまいよ。
With her gloved hand, Touko ran her fingers across the wound on Alice's abdomen. A flash of pain ran through Alice's body. Alice held in her screams, but she finally let out a long breath. She turned her face away in pain or
ほ
shame.
ら、もう肌も復元している。
Oh.
骨格、血管はおろか、内臓にまで施されたおびただしいまでの刻印だ。
Oh, you have crests on your bones?
生後、肉体に魔術回路を付加する
Yeah,
こと。
wow.
諸刃の剣だ。呪文と自分を一体化させることにより、栄唱の手間を省き、術者に多大な利点をもたらす魔術刻印。しかし、それは多ければ多いほど苦痛を伴う。青崎の刻印は腕一本分。まあ、君に比べれば少ない方だな。
She's just a mass of magic crests, huh? Sorry, magic circuits. The magic No, I was right. The magic crests Touko referred to were the inheritance of the Aozaki family passed down by their ancestors. They can only be inherited. Aoko had received the ones that were meant for Touko.
しかし、それも良し悪しだな。右腕に刻印をした青子の痛みは、残る人間の体と神秘となった右腕とが反発する程度だ。通常の肉体が右腕を否定し、末梢にかかる痛み。精神的にも肉体的にも生じる幻痛は、現在にも似て拭い去ることはできない。
So what you're saying is Metal Gear Solid 5 stole all of it from this game. Got it, got it.
だが、ここまで来ると痛みも何もあるまい。そもそも生きている実感はあるのか？自分が人間だとまだ信じている？ああ、本当に。お互い非凡な死を持つと苦労するね、アリス。
Touko took Alice's body in her arms. The wounds from Beowulf had mostly healed. Even so, her breathing was shallow, likely due to the pain. Touko gently held the girl's face in her hand.
マインスターには恩がある。
Oh.
それに、私の相手はあくまで青子一人だ。
Oh! Never mind about my 12 feet apart because they're not gay. At all. Okay. Oh, it's CPR. Okay. Alright. Alice's lungs pined for oxygen. Touko pressed her lips to hers. The young girl wriggled, trying to escape, but Touko held her firmly. Beneath the blue moon, the two remained frozen. Then the sound of swallowing. Did you give her something? What? Something solid slid down Alice's throat. With that, she went limp and her arm fell. So, we thought it was a kiss. But then, no, it was actually CPR. But then, no, she was actually slipping her a roofie. Dang. Gaslight, gatekeep, and girl boss. All in one. After setting Alice down on her side, Touko stood up.
今のは七かまどに手を加えた私の特製品だ。そう簡単に解毒はできない。魔力を流せば体の中で暴発する仕組みになっているから気をつけなさい。
Okay.
ああ、口移しは私の趣味だから。特に気にすることはないよ。
Okay. This would have been much better if we didn't have the typo there. But she's like Touko Ozaki looks at the camera. I'm sorry if this looks gay to any of our viewers. As she desperately clung to consciousness, Alice looked up at Touko from the ground. The disgrace from the kiss was greater than the pain she felt in her body. Touko began walking away, her golden wolf in tow. Neither looked back to see Alice's hateful... Son of a gun, I just realized. We're absolutely going to get Touko's dog versus Aoko's dog. In the end, it was just dog fighting.
そうそう。一つ言い忘れていた。ベオが呼び寄せた野犬たちだけどね。公園の外にまだ山ほどいるんだが、困ったことに彼らは本来何を口にするべきかを思い出している。ベオの野生に刺激されたんだろう。獣はより強い獣に従うものだからな。
You know that's actually not a real thing, right? The whole alpha, beta, omega, that's not a real construct. That's bad, bad scientists who studied them in zoos. It's not true. But I'm also not going to stop you, so go ahead. In a roundabout way, Touko had read Alice her last rites. In nature, it was common for the weak that could no longer move to offer their bodies up to feed the strong.
じゃあ私は行くよ。歩くことも満足にできないだろうが、無事に帰れるといいね。
With a twisted grin, the mage headed into the darkness. As her footsteps faded, the sound of growls grew louder. Alice could still barely focus her eyes. The hounds looked like monsters out of a picture book. Alice took a deep breath, her consciousness slipping away. The sky was blue, the trees were tall, the park was a graveyard. In that corner of her eye, though, Alice could just about make out a solitary phone booth. The phone rang. It was the second time Sojiro had heard its voice echo through the cold foyer. Only a few minutes had passed since Alice called. He wondered what she could want this time. The call persisted, determined not to leave him to his thoughts.
はい、クオンジですが。
あら、その声は宗十郎くん？
A cheery voice? Sojiro had been expecting Alice. Oh. It was Touko Ozaki. Somehow Sojiro was not surprised.
そうですけど、トウコさん、暇なんですか？
He checked the time. Thought it was about midnight by now. No matter what the situation, Sojiro always kept his cool. He could hear Touko trying to suppress a laugh. After taking a while to compose herself, she started talking again.
ごめんなさい。ちょっとツボ入っちゃったみたい。で、質問の開始ね。これがあんまり暇じゃないな。私も今日で終わらせる予定だから忙しいんだ。
Jeez.
偶然ですね。青崎もそんなことを言ってました。
やっぱりそうね。こういう時は本当に姉妹だなって思うわ。昔からエンジンかけるタイミングだけは一緒だったから、あのことは。
I swear to God, did Touko leave? Find another phone booth, literally just to call so that Alice couldn't call him.
ところで、青崎はやめてって言ったでしょ。
Oh, but wait, we had
青崎だからくすぐったいのよね。
the flashback of her hurt before? Huh. Sojiro realized she was probably right. Ozaki's words made more sense now. Can you be more specific? Just use the first
ま
names.
あそんなわけだから長話をする気はないんだ。単刀直入に聞くけど、そっちに青子はいる？
It almost sounded like she was worried about her sister's whereabouts. But the cool-headed Sojiro had not forgotten Touko was their enemy. Keeping Aoko and Alice in mind, he decided to be evasive.
さあ、なんて答えてほしいんですか、トウコさんとしては。
The question shifted the tone of the conversation drastically. Sojiro could hear Touko muttering to herself in annoyance. Sojiro was proving more quick-witted than she had anticipated. A change of tact was required. Don't you mean tact? Shouldn't it be T-A-C-T? Isn't it change of tact? Anyways, did she legitimately call him just to be like, hey, do you know where the people I'm trying to kill are? And thinking to be, oh, you mean Aoko, she's old. Did she actually think that would happen?
そうね。君には何も答えてほしくないっていうのが正解かな。第一印象で君を無視するのは良くない気がしてたけど、やっぱり私は宗十郎くんを手にかけたくはないみたい。君はこのまま無関係でいてちょうだいね。
Oh my god, she is so manipulative. Her warning came from the heart. Sojiro responded flatly, once again not giving any sign either way. It seemed she wanted him to stay out of this too. Even Sojiro could tell the girls were being kind in their own way. But who asked for their kindness?
じゃあ、さよならね。私は君が思ってるほど暇じゃないから。でも、最後に一つだけ。君を試すようで悪いんだけど、伝えておかないと一生恨まれそうだし。
I swear to God, if on the one hand, she might be like, I killed Alice, and it'd be like, oh, frick, ah. But on the other hand, she might be like, I actually stole Alice's first kiss, and then it'd be, whoa.
なんでそうならないように責任の半分を君に押し付けちゃおうかな。
Touko giggled, a laugh to show that she had him in the palm of her hand from the beginning.
さっきクオンジさんに会ってきたの。彼女から電話があったでしょ。
Mm-hmm. Her tone had not changed. She sounded as cordial as before. Even so, as soon as Sojiro heard Alice's name, a chill ran up his spine.
彼女、今ひどい状態なんだ。満足に歩けないどころか、体中の刻印が活性化して破裂寸前。宗十郎くんが骨折の痛みを知ってるなら、うまい例えようがあるんだけどね。まあ、ともかくだ。いつ気を失ってもおかしくない状態なんだけど、災難なことに怖い野犬に囲まれてるみたいなの。個人的な意見だけど。10分もあれば骨しか残らない結末になるでしょうね。
That's not enough time. Like, my man Sojiro would have to jump and air dash multiple times to get down the mountain in time. She spoke as if she was telling a joke. If it was a joke, it was in bad taste. However, Sojiro knew this was anything but. She was telling the truth. He had not heard of dogs attacking anyone in town, but the noise he heard while on the phone with Alice suddenly made sense. Dogs, a pack of them, no doubt about it. They were surrounding their prey. Why had he not cottoned on sooner? You mean caught, right? That's not a phrase. Squeezing the receiver in his hand, Sojiro cursed himself. Alice had been calling for help. Even when backed into a corner, she had not wanted to involve Sojiro. Still, she needed help. The way she said his name so lightly.
場所は
He spoke abruptly. Even though he knew Touko was the enemy, he was confident she would answer him. That was the reason she called.
教えてあげてもいいけど、そうした瞬間に君は私の敵になるのよ。その
Sojiro realized what was happening. He was being tested. By ignoring Alice, he would be confirming that he did not want to get involved. But if he decided to save her...
それで場所は
Sojiro ignored Toko's question. Of course, he was not prepared to become her enemy, but he was even less prepared to let Alice die. He had lost his ability to think sensibly, not that he was particularly good at that to begin with. Still, he would not waste any time in deliberation. He would simply go with his instincts. It was one of the few times he had felt pride since coming down from the mountains.
ちょっと残念だな。私は本当に君が気に入ってたのに。まあ、こうなることは分かってたけどね。
I can't believe this is going to end up with dogfights.
場所はヤシロギの森林公園。受話器の下に地図があるでしょ。この前帰りがけにしおりを挟んでおいたから、それを参考にすること。
Wow. God, you are just like Batman with prep.
繰り返すようだけど、10分持てば幸運。その後は1分ごとに奇跡の価値が上がるような状況よ。今の彼女は。
Now, here's the thing. I don't think we've ever seen pure, able to do, like, pure, unstoppable Sojiro mountain man body sprinting. As he listened, Sojiro's expression turned to one of irritation. Misaki and Yashirogi were one station apart. How long would it take to get to the station from the mansion? Usually just under 12 minutes. By the time he got off the train at Yashirogi, nearly 30 minutes would have
地
passed.
図の上じゃ近いのに、区画整理された交通手段は不便よね。けど、急げば最終の電車には間に合うわ。ここで諦めた方が賢明だけど、君はもう私の敵だから。どっちにしたって、後悔のないようにね。
The line went dead. Sojiro, not Touko, had hung up the phone. He memorized the map and then made for the door. With no time to grab his coat, he ran out into the snowy winter night with the clothes he had on. All that remained in the hall was the discarded map. It showed Misaki City. It was about 10 miles from the mansion to the nature park. 5, if you went in a straight line, but the streets were not that forgiving. 4 inches on the map, but so far in reality. For the first time, Sojiro cursed the town. Yo, God, the town is the villain once more. I feel like man can jump across roofs. Human Tarzan, you know. So is she safe in the phone booth? Alice's injuries were not limited to her abdomen. The wolf had punched a hole straight through to her back, crushing her lower vertebrae and leaving both her legs paralyzed. Though her magic crests were repairing the damage, it would likely take another hour before recovery. At the very least, her heart and slender arms still worked. Although after crawling along the ground to the phone booth, those too were failing her. As the crest healed her wounds, a searing heat ran through her body that threatened to overwhelm her. It was as if her body was no longer her own, like she was transforming into another creature. The poison throbbing through her open wounds hurt emotionally more than physically. She was used to pain, but she could not accept this disquieting feeling. Not that she had any intention to. The moment she did, it would be her last. Alice wrestled with the discomfort from her abdomen and her magic crests, and with her consciousness holding on by a thread, she took the phone in her hand. God, the blood-stained phone. It was unlikely Touko would be there to pick up. Even so, with the stray dogs gathering around the booth, she had to try. It was Sojiro who picked up. Alice knew she was better off just hanging. No, this song! It's gonna make me sad. God, Alice's theme is so good. Alice knew she was better off just hanging up, but his name slipped out of her mouth. After pausing and fighting with herself for some time, an image of the innocent boy came to mind and she hung up. Her instincts had won out. She would not let him get involved. And not just because he was an innocent bystander. It was more than that. To Alice, Sojiro appeared that day because he was merely in the wrong place at the wrong time. Only the lightest of breaths passed her lips. Above her, the moon began to blur. Snow was falling again, so close, yet so far. The dogs began hurling themselves at the phone booth to the chorus of hungry snarls. Thunk, thunk. She took one last deep breath and closed her eyes. Glass, an unusual material for a coffin. But the girl knew in some corner of her mind that she had made the right choice not to ask the boy for help. Well, now he can be in the right place at the right time, hopefully. Some time passed. A peculiar sight came into view. Oh! I've seen this imagery before. I don't know what it is, but I've seen it. A field of wild flowers. The clear sky was too blue. The flowers, so numerous they made the field look barren. The sight was so dazzlingly beautiful, she wished she could look away. This was probably all thanks to Father Winter. The cold wind carried a scent of paradise far removed, untainted by man or beast. It was a glimpse of the field beyond winter. One could be forgiven for thinking they were the afterlife. Come to think of it, she remembered how funerals were sad yet always beautiful. She cried. She had made an incongruous whine a sound of life. Her breathing was strained and erratic. Hollow and useless was the heart that she once used to fend off pain. It was as though she was in space between disconnected body and mind. A crying woman and a silent child. High was the sky, deep was the forest, unmoving were the people. No footsteps or voices of salvation came. Who was that looking innocently up at the sky in the stillness? When she came to, Alice was going up a familiar hill. The cold night air had all but frozen her hands or feet. She shook, as you would expect from someone whose abdomen had been torn apart. She could barely comprehend that she was being carried slowly up Shiro Inuzuka. Sojiro had Alice on his back and was silently ascending the slope. His calm eyes seemed to be suffering from the bitter cold. He did not seem to be dressed for the time of year. Not even a coat. His exposed neck and hands were ice cold. God, she looks so small and frail. Alice asked, still slumped over his frame. She tried to move, but to no avail. The last thing she wanted was to rest her entire weight on someone else.
トウコさんから電話があった。アリスが危ないって。青崎はともかく、アリスは意地を張りすぎだ。あの状況で助けを呼ばないのはどうかしてる。そりゃ自分が言っても何もできなかっただろうけど。
Sojiro spoke with a scolding tone, his eyes kept firmly ahead. His words were directed at himself rather than the girl on his back.
しずきくんは関係ないもの。
だろうね。けどこれで関係はできた。館に着いたら話してもらうぞ。
Sojiro focused on climbing the hill. The slope would get steeper from here to the mansion. The thought of Sojiro climbing this steep hill with her on his back surprised Alice.
降りるわ。もう大丈夫だから。
You are not?
お腹をむき出しでかい。この方が少しは暖かいよ。それにアリスは薪より軽い。山じゃこの程度は朝飯前だから気にしないでくれ。まあその意味はなかったんだが。
なぜ？
俺が着いたら犬はさっさと散っていった。初めからトウコさんはそういうつもりだったんだ。アリスをどうにかするつもりもなければ時間制限もなかった。
Oh.
喜ぶべきことなんだろうけど。
He's a bit of a five-head in this art. Sojiro said dejectedly, but he was wrong. While Touko did not want to kill Alice per se, she would have not cared if she had died. Oh. At least that was the way Alice saw it. So then what is it? She did not know how long it would take Sojiro to get to the park, but if he had not come, the phone booth would have collapsed and she would be dead. Alice did her best to suppress her thoughts and feelings. She felt silly at the thought of correcting him, and it would matter little anyway. The thought of her trying to thank him was more painful than her open wounds.
もしかして公園からずっと。
仕方ないだろう。電車終わってたんだから。タクシーを使えばよかったんだけど、あいにく持ち合わせがなくて。ほんと、今日ほどお金の不便さを思い知った日はない。
Oh my god, once again. So legitimately, I'm going to be using one of the clips of them on the bridge talking about the city for one of my social classes for discussing ideologies and worldview, because there's a lot to be said about the modern world in this game. For the first time today, Sojiro let out a sigh. There was no point taking a break. He had already traveled close to 6 miles like this. Perhaps the fatigue was getting to him. Sojiro was more upset with his own weakness than the difficulty of the trek.
でもそれを言うならお金の大切さ。
使えるものがあるのにお金がないだけで使えないんだから。それって不便って言わないか？
Yeah. That's why the golden armor and the magic armor in Twilight Princess is terrible. The innocence of his question made Alice briefly forget her pain. She too felt distant from the real world, but compared to the boy carrying her, she felt like a regular citizen.
何かあなたらしいわ。
Alice smiled to herself. As Alice rested her head, something soft touched her cheek. The collar Aoko had given him.
館に着いたら着替えるんだ。お腹の血も拭って。落ち着いたら今で話そう。
I swear to God, if she's like, I can't move my arms and legs, please help me. Like, I feel like that's gonna happen, but I feel like he would feel nothing but obligation, you know?
トウコさんに言わせれば、俺もこれで敵らしいから。
With those words hanging in the air, they reached the top of the hill. The gate in the woods stood before them. Beyond it, illuminated by the pale moonlight, stood the mansion. Looking up at it, the girl felt a little disappointed. A natural reaction, yet she could not place where her sadness was coming from. Once they entered the mansion, Alice slid off Sojiro's back and walked toward the west wing. Okay, her legs are back, I guess. The west wing was her domain. However, oh, never mind. Only after a few steps, she collapsed to the floor. Sojiro rushed over to her, but she raised her hand. Her gesture told him he was not to come closer. He stopped in his tracks, a concerned look on his face. Her pale skin gleamed with sweat, her expression uncharacteristically strained.
平気。部屋に戻るぐらいの力は戻ったわ。 服を作ろってくるから、あなたはここにいて。
Are you sure?
すぐに戻ってくるから。そうしたら。
The pained look in Alice's eyes told Sojiro they would talk later. He knew he could not stop her. Sojiro reminded himself that she was the one in pain, not him.
それじゃあ戻ってきたら話を聞かせてくれ。
Alice took a deep breath before slowly disappearing down the corridor. An uneventful 5 minutes passed. Alice returned wearing a fresh set of black clothes, but her complexion remained pallid. With a small sigh, she carefully leaned against the pillar in the foyer and slid down it until she was sitting.
アリス、傷が痛むなら無理せず横になった方がいい。
Sojiro sat across from her on the cold floor.
傷はもう痛まないわ。横になる必要もない。
God, she does. Look at the bags under her eyes.
この体の異常は七かまどを飲まされたせいだから。
じゃあせめて毛布とか。
いいから気遣いはしないで。
Jeez.
ここ
She seemed to be telling the truth. Sojiro remembered Aoko telling him that as long as Alice is inside the mansion, she would be comfortable.
あったかいのならいい。それで七かまどっていうのは。
薬草の一種よ。
Mm-hmm.
7回かまどで焼いても燃え残ることから付けられた名前で、
Interesting.
紅葉は魔除け。普通の人には良くない程度だけど、私や青子には少し厄介ね。
Oh.
体内での魔力生成そのものに抵抗されてしまうから、手の打ちようがない。
It's like a magical laxative. No, it'd be the opposite of a laxative. It bungs you up. What is the name of I don't know. Fiber? No, does fire? I don't know.
毒と思っていいのか。
いえ、本来は薬草よ。今は傷を治すために魔力を使っているから苦しいけど、傷が完治すればおとなしくなるわ。魔術さえ使わなければ七かまども反応しないから。
Well, that's one way to write her out of the story for combat.
単純な話、七かまどを消化するまで私は役には立たないだけ。
Alice paused. She decided not to say how many days that would take.
別にしずきくんが心配することじゃないわ。こんなの血が流れる程度の痛みだから。
She worked hard to keep her tone calm. Aoko had barely blinked when she was struck in the back, so mages must have an unusually high pain threshold. Sojiro was surprised and bewildered by what she said. If wounds didn't count as long as the pain wasn't too bad, then nothing would hurt except an injury that killed you.
わかっ
You
た。
die when you're killed.
話をするのは明日にしよう。今日はとにかく体を休めてほしい。
明日になっても私の容体は変わらないけど。
いいんだ、それでも。アリスはもっと体を大事にしてくれ。
He stood up.
部屋まで送るよ。それとも今で休むか？西館には入ったことはないから、アリスの部屋もわからないし。
ここでいいわ。青子を待たなくちゃいけないから。
Alice looked up at the skylight. The moonlight illuminated her pained face. The foyer looked like it belonged to a rundown castle. Only the moon and Alice seemed more vivid than reality. Where did her strength come from? Sojiro stared at her. Without understanding the significance of Alice's gaze, he turned his gaze to the night sky, powerless as it was. For the third time that night, the silence was broken by the sound of the phone ringing. Before Sojiro could move, a thin shadow bolted across the foyer. By the time he realized it was the weakened Alice, she had already taken the receiver in her hand.
青子。
It was the first time Sojiro had heard Alice sound concerned. Her tone was infinitely graver than when she was enduring her own pain. Alice's question received only a short response from the voice on the other end. It was a voice more... Oh no! It was a voice more frail than Alice's, like a flickering flame about to turn to smoke.
ごめん、やられた。
The phone was far from Sojiro's ears, but the words he picked up were very unlike her. Despite saying so little, no, because she had said so little, the weight of Aoko's defeat struck Sojiro hard. Alice silently set the receiver down. Only moments before, her body had been fighting the pain. Now it felt stronger than ever. It was like a scarecrow transforming into a beautiful stone statue. That's a bit of a strange metaphor, I'm going to be honest, Chief. Seeing this, Sojiro finally understood. Alice's expression when she looked at the moon had come from her trying to accept an immutable reality. Even snow. Shut up! Oh no. No, you can't call it the Holy Night. Wait! Silent night. Holy night. You're telling me this whole time the Holy Night in the title referred to it being on Christmas? Which is why the game released around Christmas? Oh my god. Oh my god. I am shook. Shook right now. This was epic, gamers. Next time, let's move on to the next chapter of Witch on the Holy Night. We will see you then for that, guys. Ciao.